When people think about money, most times people think about how to accumulate it, how to grow their wealth. But oftentimes the thought of passing that wealth on is secondary or even further down the list. Research shows that over the next 2 decades, we'll see the largest wealth transfer in history. Nearly $124 trillion is expected to change hands through 2048, with about $106 trillion moving to heirs. Unfortunately, during that process, a lot can happen. Family conflict, just general mismanagement, even taxes that people are unaware of can substantially erode the value of that nest egg being passed down. In this video, I wanted to break down how we at Pacific Wealth Management help our clients pass down their wealth most efficiently, creating tax-aware strategies, trust structures, and even preparing their heirs to receive these assets. I'm Justin Kuntz, Managing Director at Pacific Wealth Management, helping you make good financial decisions through sound management for a secure future. Let's start with the big picture. The projected wealth transfer is huge, just absolutely massive, but many families haven't built a clear strategy for how their assets will actually move between generations. When planning is delayed, outcomes can become unpredictable, and that can lead to unnecessary estate taxes, long probate delays, or heirs inheriting before they're ready. So, what does an efficient transfer actually look like? When creating a plan, it's important to maintain a view of these principles, minimizing taxes and maintaining control. And I think that the best way to accomplish that is by incorporating 3 primary pillars within your plan. Number 1, the formation of trusts. Number 2, education and promoting that education throughout the rest of your life. And 3, the use of gifts or charitable giving. Let's start with the creation of trusts. One of the most powerful tools in financial planning in general. Trusts allow you to set the terms around who benefits from your assets and when, and under what conditions. They can help you avoid probate, protect privacy, and create long-term structure for how your wealth is managed after you're gone. A revocable living trust, for example, lets you retain flexibility during your lifetime and helps you streamline the transition of assets later on upon your passing. While an irrevocable grantor trust, such as a spousal lifetime access trust, can move appreciating assets out of your estate while still allowing for indirect benefits for your family. Each structure has its own purpose, some strengths, some weaknesses, but the unifying theme is control, the ability to define how your legacy is carried forward. This also connects directly to another key part of transferring wealth, which is taxes. Depending on the state that you live in, you may face both federal and state level estate taxes, while income taxes can apply to inherited assets that continue generating returns or growth over time. Timing is really important when thinking about wealth transfers. Assets that are transferred or gifted during your lifetime pass on your basis, your cost basis. So whoever receives those assets basically would have to pay capital gains tax upon your appreciation that you experienced during your ownership if they were to ever sell them. Whereas assets that are passed upon death, the cost basis is stepped up to the value upon your passing or upon the date of transfer. At which point, if the heir were to sell that asset, they wouldn't have any kind of capital gains tax to pay if they were to sell it immediately. One effective approach is what's called an estate freezing technique, where you can actually remove appreciating assets from your estate while they're appreciating. The value at that time is frozen in time and would count towards your estate's total value, but any appreciation that occurs from there is not included within your estate for purposes of the estate tax exemption amount. You can also leverage tax-advantaged accounts like Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs. Roth assets can provide tax-free qualified distributions to beneficiaries under the current rules, which can make them extremely beneficial and efficient for intergenerational wealth transfer. Life insurance can also be an effective estate planning tool, providing liquidity to pay potential estate taxes that one's estate might be facing. This can provide the ability to basically not sell anything from the estate upon that estate's distribution. All in all, it's really important to coordinate the trust structure, timing, and tax considerations together when thinking about all this. But even the best legal and tax structures can sometimes fall short if heirs aren't prepared for handling what's coming. It's really important to know the background of why education is so important and why doing anything in this capacity is likely to put you ahead of where most people land when transferring their wealth onto the next generation. Studies show that around 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation, and about 90% by the third. Not because of poor investments, but because of breakdowns in communication and preparedness. So what can you do? The key is to start early. The earlier you start, the better. And involve your heirs in conversations long before the inheritance actually occurs. It's really important to explain why you've made the decisions you've made over the course of the formation of your trust. And to meet relatively consistently as life changes and as your estate goals change can be important too. Some families, they actually hold annual meetings where they discuss shared financial goals, philanthropic priorities, or even just the general purpose behind their legacy. Another factor or another strategy is using staged transfers so you can oversee your wealth being managed by your heirs while you're still around and offer any kind of feedback or suggestions as time goes on to kind of mold the strategy while you're still alive. All in all, turning your inheritance into a learning process rather than a transactional event is what this is all about, and bound to benefit the people that you're actually trying to benefit by passing this wealth on. So on the topic of gifting or charitable giving, gifting during your lifetime can be one of the most straightforward ways to reduce your overall taxable estate. In 2025, the annual gift tax exclusion allows you to gift up to $19,000 per person, or $38,000 if you and your spouse split those gifts, without triggering any kind of taxable event or gift tax. Over the course of one's lifetime, there is an estate and gift tax exemption amount, meaning that one's wealth can grow up to a certain amount, and then what is above that amount gets taxed upon your passing. That currently is $13.99 million per person. So between spouses, nearly $28 million. However, under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, that exemption is scheduled to actually increase even further to $15 million per person starting next year in 2026. And that will be indexed for inflation going forward, so will continue to grow. This legislation effectively removes the previous expiration that would have cut that exemption roughly in half by the end of 2025. And while the top federal estate and gift tax rate remains at 40%, the OBBA offers a more stable and generous framework for longer term planning. It's also worth noting that some transfers are completely unlimited when structured correctly. So for instance, payments made directly to an educational institution for tuition, for example, or directly to a healthcare provider for someone's medical expenses, don't count against your annual lifetime limits at all. At Pacific Wealth Management, we work with families to design strategies like these that integrate estate, tax, and investment planning. That can include setting up trusts, coordinating with attorneys, and creating financial education plans for younger family members to learn. The goal isn't just to preserve assets, that's definitely a high priority, but it's also to ensure that your wealth continues to reflect your values for generations to come. Let's wrap up with a few key takeaways. Number one, start early. Estate planning is the most powerful tool when time is on your side. 2, use annual gifting and lifetime exemptions strategically to reduce your taxable estate while you're still alive. 3, explore trusts that align with your goals for control, protection, and flexibility. 4, communicate openly. The more your heirs understand your plan, the more likely they are to succeed. 5, keep everything updated. Tax law, family structures, and personal goals evolve, so your plan should too along the way. Overall, it's about creating continuity, preserving stability, and carrying forward a shared sense of purpose. I'm Justin Kuntz, Managing Director at Pacific Wealth Management, and if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients make the most out of life with their money, be sure to visit us at www.pacwealth.com and check out our other videos.